All right, so whether you're a solo professional or a small team, or even sitting inside a Fortune 500 company, everyone right now is asking the same question. Where do I actually start with AI? And listen, I get it. There's a new tool every week. Your boss wants AI, your CEO wants AI. LinkedIn is like full of people who seem like they have it all figured out. And meanwhile, you're sitting there thinking, I know AI should be giving me leverage, but I genuinely don't know what to do first. And this is actually a pretty common story. I actually recently got off a call with a small company, not knowing at all where to start with AI. All they knew is that their CEO wanted them to do AI. Listen, that's not a strategy. That pattern is happening everywhere. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through the exact 3-layer framework that I use when I consult on AI adoption. And listen, it works whether you are one person trying to get leverage or a team of 50 trying to transform how you operate. Get the order right and AI becomes real leverage. Get it wrong and you're just kind of stacking expensive tools on top of each other. Let's get started. All right, so here is our game plan. So as I mentioned, there are 3 layers to AI adoption, and they basically build on top of each other. So layer 1 is your data layer, and that means owning your data, cleaning it, and centralizing it. Layer 2 is your workflow area. So that means that we'll be auditing and rebuilding how work actually gets done before we add in too much AI automation. And then of course there's layer 3, the intelligence layer, the exciting stuff, agents, insights, full automation. But here is the catch. You only earn the right to do layer 3 once you have a solid layer 1 and layer 2. Most companies, most people skip to layer 3, and that's why a lot of AI adoption efforts fail. Let's get into it. Now, if you don't know me, I'm Sunny, and I'm a serial founder now on my 4th startup. I'm also a former senior engineer at Bloomberg and Shopify, and currently an adjunct professor at Columbia Business School, where I teach tech and AI. Listen, I have been building in technology for over 15 years, well before AI. And my goal for this video, and really all my videos, is to help you make sense of this ever-evolving tech landscape and to make a lot of these AI tools more accessible to more people. Let's get started with our first step. So layer 1, data. And I know this is the boring one, but listen, this is actually the most important layer, and it's the one everybody usually skips. Here is the thing. If you're using an LLM off the shelf like ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, whatever, everyone has access to the same model, the same intelligence. So how do you make the output uniquely yours? How do you make it actually useful for your specific business context, for your specific decisions? It is the context you provide, and context starts with data. So what does this actually look like? Well, first, you need to know where your data lives. And for most companies, the answer is everywhere. You've got a database over here, your Salesforce over there, SharePoint slides somewhere else, and random spreadsheets floating around, and a bunch of institutional knowledge locked in people's heads or in email threads. You cannot build intelligence on top of fragmentation. It just doesn't work. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, and this is where I get a little opinionated, I want you to own your data. And by own, I mean it should live in a place that you control, not locked inside a vendor's platform where you're basically paying rent to access the information. Listen, I see this all the time. A company that has years of valuable data, customer interactions, sales history, operational knowledge, but it's scattered across a bunch of different platforms, maybe 3 platforms, maybe 4, maybe even 5 different platforms. A CRM here, a project management tool there, a tool that manages spreadsheets. So all of that institutional knowledge, all of that data is fragmented, and every one of those platforms that it's in now wants to be your AI layer too. They're all pitching their built-in AI features, but here is the problem. Your data is sitting inside their ecosystem. And every time you want to do something new with it, you're kind of paying for another module, another license, another integration. And you don't really own your data at that point. You're really just renting access to it. So where possible, pull your critical data into a source that you control. This could be a Postgres database. This could be something like Supabase if you're a smaller team, whatever makes sense for your team. The point is you want to be able to point any tool at your data, not just the tool that the vendor wants you to buy, but any tool that you create. So that's the second point. And the third and final point I'll make on this is you have to clean your data. This is probably the most tedious work, but it is the most valuable. The team I mentioned earlier, they were working for years on restructuring their data, cleaning it up, rationalizing their schemas. They didn't actually know they were doing AI prep, but they actually were. And now they are in a dramatically better position than companies that just jump straight to AI tools without touching any of their data foundation. And listen, this is probably a good time to mention something I've been saying for a while right now. Everyone is moving super fast, but the scarce skill is clarity. The companies and people that are furthest ahead with AI right now are usually not the ones that adopted the flashy tools first. They're actually the ones that did the boring work of getting their data house in order, for example, sometimes years before AI was even on the radar. The lesson here is that the boring foundational work always compounds. Tools depreciate, but clarity is something that can really, really compound. All right, let's move on to the next layer. All right, so layer 2, workflows. And this is where things get really interesting because this is where I see the most resistance and where I see the most opportunity. Here's the deal. You cannot automate a bad process, or actually you can automate a bad process. You will just get bad outcomes much faster. And that is almost worse than doing nothing at all because now you've spent money and time to scale dysfunction. Before you add AI to any workflow, you have to ask yourself a more fundamental question. Should this workflow exist at all in its current form? I'll tell you a quick story. I was working with a Fortune 500 company, and we spent days doing an AI adoption workshop. And by the end of it, we realized something kind of funny. They didn't actually need AI for the specific problem that we were tasked to solve. What they needed was simply to redo their workflows. The processes at that point were so convoluted, so layered with these like legacy approvals and handoffs that honestly didn't make any sense anymore. That the real win wasn't AI or automation. It was just simplification. And the funny thing is I'm seeing this pattern everywhere. AI is a forcing function for workflow hygiene. It's making everyone look at how they actually work, and a lot of what they're finding is not great. So what do you actually do here? Well, first, you start by mapping what every single person on your team is doing, what they're doing daily, what they're doing weekly, what they're doing monthly. But the goal here is not to see what everyone's doing so you can fire them. The goal is to redefine everyone's role in light of these new technologies. Understanding what everyone does, what manual tasks exist that shouldn't, what's been automated but automated badly. Knowing all of that is such an important precursor to adopting AI. You need to map it all out. And then you figure out where automation, AI or otherwise, actually helps. Sometimes the answer is a simple deterministic workflow that scans your meeting transcripts and Slack messages and gives you a weekly digest. Sometimes the answer is literally just a better spreadsheet. Sometimes it's a custom internal tool that you build in Claude Code in an afternoon. So it could really be anything. But I'll give you an example from my own company. We use a tool called Fathom that joins every call and records every meeting and also transcribes it. Then I have an end-to-end workflow that runs once a week. It will scan all of our Slack messages. It will scan all of our meeting transcripts and generate a personalized end of week digest for each person on the team. So I get a digest that's customized to the things that I care about as the technical co-founder, and my co-founder gets one customized to the things that she cares about. It's super simple, not flashy at all, but really it's designed, but it means our small team can now operate with the situational awareness of a much larger organization. And that's what I mean when I say amplification. You're not replacing people. You are giving a small team the operating leverage to operate like a much larger one. So we're now at layer 3, which is the intelligence layer. And this is where everybody wants to start. This is your agents, your insights, your analytics. And listen, I get it. It's exciting. But you only earn the right to do this stuff as long as you have those other layers solid. And even here, I kind of want to give you a framework within the framework. I want you to start ad hoc and then automate. Don't try to build a fully automated intelligence pipeline on day one. Start by having a human, a curious business savvy person on your team or yourself, just explore what is possible. Here's what that actually looks like practically. You can take your data, which hopefully is now clean and centralized because you did layer 1, and you can connect it to an LLM. Right now, I would suggest either Claude Code or Claude Cowork, and you can give it read-only access to your data. And then you can build what I would call a context layer. Now, what is a context layer? It's actually not super complicated. It's essentially a set of human readable documents that are really designed for AI. They describe your data. Here's the schema. Here's what each table means. Here's where to find customer data versus sales data versus operational data. It's kind of like a map for the LLM, so it knows how to navigate your specific world. Once you have that in place, you can just start asking questions, business domain questions that you've always wanted to answer but couldn't because it required maybe a data scientist somewhere to run a query. Things like, what patterns do we see in most successful customer relationships, or which sales conversions led to the highest conversion rate? What's changed in the last quarter versus the same period last year? So you can really just start to familiarize yourself with some of the capabilities, some of the insights you can glean, with the intention of potentially turning those into repeatable automated processes in the future. And here is my broader take on this. In terms of where we are right now, we are moving far past chatbots. We are now building systems. The LLM is just one component. The context layer, the data structures, the guardrails, the entire system is the real value. And I think this is the shift that I think a lot of people miss. The bottleneck in professional work is moving from execution to architecture. The professionals who thrive going forward aren't the ones who just compile information. They are the ones who design the systems that compile it for them. That's what you're doing when you build this. You're not just querying a database, you're actually designing an intelligence system for your organization. Okay, so let's actually make this all super practical. If you're watching this and thinking, all right, I get the framework, but what do I actually start doing tomorrow? Here is your game plan. And this works, by the way, whether you're doing this solo or rolling it out across a team. So step 1, audit where your data actually lives. Literally make a map. What platform holds what data? How current is it? How clean is it? Where is the overlap? Where is the conflict? If you're an individual, that might be your notes app, your spreadsheets, your email, your Google Drive. If you're a team, it's your CRM, your databases, your shared drives, all of it. This takes maybe half a day and it will be eye-opening. Step 2, Get your hands dirty with the data. Spin up a Claude Code or Claude Cowork session. And just start exploring, because the point is you're not building an entire product. You're kind of just building intuition. You want to see the data. You want to understand it through this kind of intelligence lens. And then step 3, run a workflow audit. And this is super, super important. If you're on a team, you can have literally every single person on your team map their repeated processes for 1 week. If you're solo, do it yourself. Just write down what you do over and over and over again, every day, every week, and you will find the automation opportunities immediately. And honestly, a lot of them may not even need AI. They just need someone to finally notice the inefficiency. But here is something I want you to keep in mind. The tools that we currently have access to are changing rapidly. Seriously, the half-life for an individual AI tool is getting shorter and shorter. So, I'm recommending Claude today. In 8 weeks, it might be something else entirely. And that's fine. And that's why it's so important for you to build the foundation right. Even if your data layer is solid, if your workflows are clean, switching tools is easy. But if you skip the foundation and build on top of a specific tool, you're kind of locked in. And lock-in in a market that's moving this fast is actually a dangerous place to be. So invest in the layers that are durable. Data, workflows, your judgment, those don't depreciate. All right, so let's bring this all together. In this video, we covered the 3 layers: data, workflows, intelligence, in that order. The people who win with AI are not going to be the ones that adopted the fastest. They are going to be the ones that adopted in the right sequence to ensure sustainability. And listen, if you have spent your career making judgment calls, if you're the person in the room who knows which questions to ask and which trade-offs matter, then this moment is not a threat. It is leverage. Now, if you stuck around till the end of this video, I appreciate you. I will see you on the next one.